then, okay everybody, so after last week's Greek yogurt debacle, today we're going through something a little bit more standard, the Great British classic, the fish and chips. Here I've got 1.5 kilos of chips, 1.5 kilos of fine battered cod, a portion of mushy peas, a portion of baked beans, and this fine Christmas gravy boat full of curry sauce. Got me some condiments on the side. I'm struggling to get all this in the shot, but hopefully you can see it all. And with that, I'm quite looking forward to this. So let's set that timer and get on with some bad decisions. Let's go. That's good, straight from the off.
Hello again everybody and welcome to Wayward Feaster. You'll notice the flames once more because I'm burning my mouth.
You know, I was genuinely quite excited for this because as part of my healthy living lifestyle, I do tend to eat a lot of potatoes and fish. It's with plain fish with no batter, boiled potatoes, regular peas. So the idea that at some point you can just let go a little bit and have the batter that you crave is a good thought.
Yeah.
All in all, this challenge is about 8 pounds of food. So let's see how I feel by the end of it. I do feel like you're not a real eater unless you've eaten a humongous unnecessary mountain of chips at some point.
Yeah, we've all got to suffer it at some point, I guess.
Oh, also hot. God, one day I'll learn. One day I will learn.
No, you won't. You've done enough of these now that if you haven't learned at this point, it's a pretty much dead issue and you're going to continue to burn your mouth for the rest of eternity. I mean, I'm doing this a couple of days later and it still hurt.
This is so hot. Not quite as bad as the pies, but it is hot.
The pie challenge does still hold the record for the most scoldings I've taken in a single meal, but this came close.
Let's see if I can get some of these peas then. Mushy peas I don't think I've had in years. It's an odd treat, but it does feel like a treat.
It's funny, when you subside mainly on healthy food, anything can feel like a treat.
Surprisingly nice. I'm not sure I'll ever do a challenge with mushy peas again, but for a one-off, it's kind of satisfying. Right, first one, bang. Right, I was really sure a crack of these beans or some of these chips. You know, I always hear people say not to get stuck into the chips too early in a challenge.
I have heard a lot of other eaters say leave the chips until last. I do kind of understand why, because the heavy carbs do sort of sit a little bit better at the end, but when there's this many, sometimes it can help to just dig in a little bit, just so that the pile left at the end doesn't seem quite so daunting. And also, cold chips are the worst thing in the world, so you can at least enjoy them while they're still a little bit warm.
Brainstorm, let's use some chips to somewhat mop up this bean sauce. And that is the beans down. Oh, so I tell you what, some of this is going down quite lovely at the moment. Sweet, sweet butter. I will say that I did want the batter more than I wanted the fish. I'm not going to deny that, but hey ho, got to enjoy these while we can.
Yeah, after the torture that was 90% of the yogurt challenge, this was absolutely a pleasure. The fish was kind of cooked to perfection and it tasted really, really good. Proper battered cod is one of life's pleasures. There's a reason it's an enduring English tradition, and I'm not going to lie, I did really, really, really enjoy this. Obviously the chips got a bit tedious later on, but the fish part of this challenge and the beans and the mushy peas, yeah, made this a really, really enjoyable little thing. Enough variety, lots of condiments, a bit of curry sauce. Everything really did hit the spot, and all the first part of this challenge went down without a hitch, really.
I did try and do this challenge later at night so that I didn't have to eat really hot food in the baking hot sunshine. But Jesus, is it still really hot?
Well, in all fairness, you did call this the Great British Heatwave Challenge, so if you did it when it wasn't really, really hot, the title would be something of a lie. But, I mean, eating this much hot food when it is baking outside did put a damper
I
on.
do actually have a knife down here if you want to do this with a bit more class. When we've got past the early days of enthusiasm, you can actually just sink into the challenge a little bit. See, there were 8 pieces of cod originally, each one about 350 grams, and we're down to sort of the last 2 and a bit.
Yeah, I think I was a bit food drunk there because it was actually 350 grams per 2 pieces, not per one. Otherwise, I'd be eating nearly 3 kilos of cod, which would be excessive.
Some mayo on there, vary the flavour up a little bit. It's one of the things with fish, it's lovely, but it does, again, the taste does catch up with you.
Like anything really, flavour fatigue can be a thing, but
Let's try some of this Pyrenees. It's sad, it's the mild version. I blame my wife for that. I like my peri-peri to have a bit of a kick.
I do enjoy spicy food. One thing that's confused me about the eating community is so many of them go on about how they don't like spicy food. Me, I love it.
Go on then. It may be the wimpy kind of peri-peri mayonnaise, but definitely freshen things up a little bit.
Yeah, even bad peri-peri is better than no peri-peri. It is a very, very nice flavour, you gotta say.
I think I'm the last of this fish and then we start real work. A pile of chips is just kind of staring at me mockingly.
Yeah, I was very aware at this point that the fun part of the challenge was over, and then it was actually going to be real work trying to get through that big pile of chips. I mean, they were quite daunting looking at this stage.
Right, that is the fish defeated, and now the hard part.
Yeah, this was the hard part. This is where the challenge stopped being quite so much fun.
I mean, I do consider myself different to some eaters out there because, you know, I love mushrooms and spicy food. Hotter the better. But one thing I do agree with a lot of them on is I don't get the appeal of chips. They are seriously one of the blandest foods on planet Earth.
Yeah, I mean, some people are so enthusiastic about chips and consider them like a real treat food. To me, I don't get it. I really don't.
One thing I will say, win, lose or draw, this is so much better than that damn yogurt challenge.
I think this is a couple of times now I've mentioned the yogurt challenge. I think that thing traumatised me more than I realised. Jesus, that was a rough day at the office. But yeah, as you can see, we're making good headway through the chips, even if they are a little bit bland. And they did suffer from one slight problem, which is home cooking this many chips. They weren't exactly the most evenly cooked. You'll see what I mean.
You might have to slow down on the amount I'm putting in my mouth. More of a hindrance than a help. Just can't help myself, just want the pile to go down.
There were so many chips I had to split them between the oven and the air fryer, so some of them are kind of cooked to perfection, some of them were just like taking a bite out of a raw potato, and it was almost like playing some weirdly masochistic kind of chip roulette. And the fact that they were pretty cooled down by this point didn't make it any easier. It was chewy and clumpy with the occasional nice crispy one, but I really wasn't enjoying it at this point, as you can tell by the fact that I'm slowing down and they're chewing more and they're getting harder to swallow. I could have probably made better use of the curry sauce and the condiments at this stage, but I think we'd got to that point where I was just trying to fight my way through and get them down, because I had to finish.
I would start rolling myself t-shirts for finishing these challenges then. Not that I've finished this one yet, but you know, we're closer to the end than the beginning. Even if these chips have hit that stage of cold that is just grossly unpleasant.
Yeah, I think it kind of violates the spirit if you start handing yourself t-shirts for doing things. But maybe you just need to get out there in the real world and start doing some official challenges if you want a couple of winners t-shirts. But that's coming down the line, I promise you all that. But yeah, this was a slog at this point. The chips were starting to be cold and clumpy and unpleasant, and we're fighting on.
No, I'm at a funny place in the challenge now where I can definitely feel a bit full, but I'm not like struggling full. Yeah, everything just slows down that little bit. I've never really understood it, like your body doesn't quite want to swallow. And that's why I've got to remember to take it a bit smaller portions. Trick the old body into thinking it's okay.
Look at you there with all the wisdomous thoughts, trying to figure this out as you go. I mean, you are relatively new at this game, so I guess you're going to figure this out as you go along, aren't you?
Oh, honestly. No, they didn't. Just a little bit. I'm not too proud. You've got to finish with honour. No chips left behind.
Some might say there's no honour in eating an £8 meal, but I beg to differ. If you're going to do anything, you should do it properly. What's the saying? How you do anything is how you do everything. So we're going to finish these gross challenges, and we're going to do it with honour and style.
To fail at this point would be the ultimate tragedy.
But we were never going to not finish at this stage. I mean, when you're this close to the end, you'd have to be an absolute quitter to not make it over the finish line. And with that, I will say, please like and follow, and I'll see you next time.
I don't think I might have saved the biggest chip till last. And that, my friends, in a time of 32 minutes, 18 seconds, is the Great British Heatwave Fish and Chips Challenge. Well beaten. Thanks.